What's going on? Welcome to episode 22 of In the AM with MC. Congratulations to the Oklahoma City Thunder and all those who are fans. Shout out to my dog Makai. He's been an Oklahoma City Thunder fan for a long time. He's been down with them boys, and they up now. They got them a championship. It's really beautiful to see. Like when you have teams in the NBA who have not won at all, it's beautiful for their fan bases. You think about parity, you think about variety, you think about what brings you to the game, what's the sell of the game, what's the appeal. And the appeal is that a team can build itself, reinvent themselves, make big trades, make big draft acquisitions, make big hirings in the front office. They can do all of these things to bolster their ability to win a championship. And so when they ultimately win the championship, it really is a beautiful experience. The NBA Finals had two or three like masterpiece games where I think everybody who was around was watching the game like, yeah, this is beautiful basketball being played. Um, Obviously, Halliburton went down in game seven. You never want to see that kind of stuff. It sucks. I think that he's cemented himself, though, as being the guy that people internally thought he was last year. I think he's proved that he's that guy on a larger scale. When he was picked as that third guard for the Olympics, that third lead guard for the Olympics, I think that there were some people who were really, really, really confused, especially when you consider the fact that one of the lead guards was Steph Curry, right? It's like, maybe that should have gone to like Chris Paul question mark. Like I wouldn't have been upset if Chris Paul got that nod. Um, but I do think that there's something to be said about the fact that the international game rules do not benefit small guards, right? You can see all the clips that you want of Chris Chiozza over there getting bucks, but the fact of the matter is that Victor Wembanyama and Rudy Gobert can stand in the paint together and hold hands for as long as they want. And then if you shoot the ball, it better be a swish, because if it hits the rim, they could just send it to Mars. So it's a really hard game to play, to be fully honest. It's a really hard game for anybody to just get there and play the international game. But for Halliburton to, take his licks on Team USA and not really complain about being on the bench and then come over and lead his team to the chip. They lost in 7 games. That I said on I said on this episode or last episode, I believe, I said I thought it was gonna go to 5 games. I thought OKC in five, OKC in seven, a convincing seven with the biggest name player on the other team. You could argue about everything else, but the biggest name player on the other team going down with the Achilles injury. You really can't want more if you're the fan base for Indiana other than actually winning. You can't want more. Um, it was truly a great back and forth finals. I think that there was a lot of chess going on between both the coaches. Carlisle has been known for his great schematics. It's really funny. I just read Jailblazers by Jerry Eggers. I would recommend that book to anybody. Really, really good book. But he talks a little bit about Rick Carlisle, who had some opportunity to be around the Jailblazers when they had Carlissimo and right before he went to the Pacers the first time and all that, and Detroit as well. It was just really, really interesting to learn about Carlisle at those stages in his career when we see where he's at this stage in his career. There's no coincidence he is where he is. As far as the rest of the NBA, what do you do to combat this well-oiled machine known as the Oklahoma City Thunder? Because they're not going to get any worse. I've said this already. They were a year ahead. They were a year ahead. They were a year ahead. Winning the championship is beautiful, is great, but they were in an entire year ahead of where their fan base, where their front office, where everyone thought they could be. Of course, they look competitive and they could have been competitive from early in the year, but the reason that they're where they're at is because they're an all-time defensive team. You have guys who are on the floor like Hassan Wallace, right? Who's an all-time defensive guy. I think that Chet is a really good basketball player, but I think that he's a defensive basketball player, who can put the ball in the cup at a really high clip, but he's a defensive guy. And you have just the overall length. Shea led the league in steals, I believe. I think J Dub might have been second. These guys have super long arms, versatility. Alex Caruso just go up and down. Aaron Wiggins is a guy who's super, super versatile. And again, they're where they're at because of their defensive versatility. So now they're going to draft somebody who might help their offensive, drop off a little bit. You have Nikola Topic, who's going to play for them for the first time in the summer league. He's probably going to be dropping dudes off. He probably is. So if you're the rest of the league, my question to you is, how do you get better? And when do you plan on getting better? Because the Oklahoma City Thunder are going to get better as soon as the draft. which is very soon. They have a high draft pick. They're looking to trade up and draft even higher. I don't even know who they could be targeting, to be honest, because these dudes are just loaded out the wazoo. It's scary. It's scary stuff. With a guy like Shea, like, do you draft a point guard so he can play off ball? I don't think so because a lot of his game is predicated on being able to be the offense initiator. I think you just have him get in the lab with like Steve Nash, Jason Kidd type dudes, so he can make that part of his game an even bigger focal point and makes it harder for other teams to stop him. That's what I think that you should do with Shea. I don't think that you bring in like a point guard to play the point, but at the same time, that's an enticing thing to think about. You know, it's just an enticing thing to think about. Congratulations to them dudes. I don't see them getting worse anytime soon. I do fear for some of these teams about how they're going to get better. And of course, since it's a copycat league, like I talked about on the last episode, there's a lot of teams who would be inclined to just blow it up because they're like, hey, we're not as good as OKC. Blow it up. Why? I mean, teams are going to do it. Teams are doing it as we speak. But why is that the rationale? Why is the rationale, hey, we're not the champions today. Let's blow it up. Because you could be the champions very well soon. But a lot of these teams are not going to give themselves the opportunity to grow out or grow through with that. I want to talk about these two big trades that happened in the NBA, and then we'll talk some WNBA. So first of all, Kevin Durant to the Rockets. KD said himself he was too expensive last year, and what's really funny is the only thing that's changed is his age. He's still the same Kevin Durant. I hate seeing these arguments about he's actually getting empty buckets. He's just a 7 foot Joe Johnson. What are y'all talking about? Just because you're a great scorer and it doesn't always equate to you being a champion in the moment does not make you a not great scorer. Jerry Stackhouse, one of my favorite basketball players ever. Grant Hill. I mean, there's Tracy McGrady, Carmelo Anthony. Some of the best scorers of the game haven't become champions. And that's okay. Um, you could really argue that Clyde Drexler was one Michael Jordan retirement away from never being a champion. If Michael Jordan didn't retire, does Clyde Drexler ever become a champion? I doubt it. And when he retired, I think Clyde was like top 10 in three major statistical categories. Just an all-time basketball player. Okay, so this whole KD is empty calories buckets. Keep believing that junk. But when he's playing for the Rockets next year, who had 52 wins this year with Jalen Green as their point guard and traded away Jalen Green and got Kevin Durant. Remember this conversation. They got rid of Dylan Brooks, a dude who, at the end of the day, for as good as he can be, right, too streaky of a shooter, gets you too many technical fouls defensively, a little bit of a liability in that aspect, just about being able to stay on the floor and staying tempered on the floor. Like he does play good defense, but KD plays better. KD does not get his respect as a basketball player, but also as a defensive god. For his entire career, Kevin Durant has averaged over a block a game. His entire career. Yes, he's 7 feet tall, but he's a wing. He's not down there rim protecting all the time. But in recent memory, right, with a lot of the small ball coming in, he's had to be asked to rim protect. He's like the idealistic small ball five if he had on 10 extra pounds for a lot of teams. And him 5 years ago was really like the perfect small ball five, even a four, if you have like a team where you can have Draymond at the five. So my thing with KD is, why are y'all not respecting this man's greatness? Over a steal a game for his entire career, over a block a game for his entire career, 50, 40, 90 for almost his entire career, 30 plus thousand points. Like, this is a real deal upper echelon basketball player. And so for him to go to the Rockets, I think this is a huge move for the Rockets. They are now my favorite to contest with the Oklahoma City Thunder. I'll go to toe to toe with anybody on that. I don't care. If you are the Suns, where do you go? I don't know. Devin Booker's not gonna want to play for y'all boys. Devin Booker doesn't strike me as no, he does. He does. He actually does strike me as the kind of guy to hire an agent that he knows specializes in getting dudes out. Like he strikes me as the kind to be like, I'm gonna get one of those agents so I can leave. And power to him. Those guys haven't done anything to help his career since he's been there. Not a single thing. He is the whole team. He brought them to the finals with a decent supporting cast. They traded that supporting cast for one that looked better on paper, but didn't equate to even an equal result. And so now, if you're Devin Booker, you're in limbo. Bradley Beal has a no trade clause, and he refuses to be traded. He literally is like, "Yo, I'm not leaving. Like, don't trade me here. Don't trade me here." they're like, Brad, like you had a rough season. Like, do you think maybe you need to change the scenery? He's like, nah, I'm gonna just work harder. If I'm a fan, if I'm the front office, that would bother me so much. Like, you're not gonna work harder. You're getting paid handsomely uh to really just kind of do whatever, you know? And I think that from the Suns' perspective, like this is why management and stuff matters. You know, their manager, Matt Ishbia, he's made it very clear that he's just gonna do whatever he wants to do and doesn't really care how people feel about it. And I think that goes like top down, like that really impacts everybody. And I would not be surprised if him and KD kind of got into it at some point. Because KD knows more about what it takes to win, and Ishbia is like just looking at crunch and stuff and basically asking KD why y'all not winning. I'm pretty sure that's what happened. Um, and this is from my no insider. I'm in my house. I got my Ian Wheeler jersey on position. This is like I have no sources. But this is what I theorize has happened or had happened with the Suns. And so they're stuck, man. They're stuck bad. All these coaches, only consistent is Devin Booker, and luckily for D Book, he's consistent. Luckily for his pockets, but the team sucks. I mean, the Suns absolutely suck in the deepest the West has been in a long time. They suck. Drew Holiday got traded to the Trailblazers for Ant-Man Simons in 2 seconds. I love this trade for the Celtics. I love this trade for the Celtics. I think that Simons and Pritchard can play together. I think that they can literally play like 1-2, 2-1. Defensively, it creates some issues. But it works if you have Brown and Tatum at the 3 and 4. Tatum's gonna be out for a year because of Achilles. It'll be cool to see what Missoula does with the lineups. He has a lot more flexibility. That's the only thing about having Tatum out is you have a lot of flexibility with the lineups because you have to produce scoring. So is that going to look like more buckets for Sam Hauser, more buckets for Peyton Pritchard? Definitely more buckets for Anthony Simons. I love Simons' game. The way he came along in that last year that Dame was with him was really, really special. It's ironic though, because Dame was also traded for Drew Holiday. So you mean to tell me that you were so if you're the Portland Trailblazers, right? And don't get me wrong, I actually like this trade for the Blazers to an extent, but it's just the fact that it was Holiday. So a couple years ago, you traded your cornerstone guy, you know, for what? For Drew Holiday. And as you end up getting Jeremy Grant, and you end up getting Scoot Henderson, and you're like, hey, we're building a team. But then you're not. Then you're not. And now it's like, a little bit of a self-destruct. But the Blazers were top five in defensive rating, defensive efficiency as well after the All-Star break. They were one of the best defensive teams in the whole league, but especially in that Wild Wild West after the All-Star break. So you add a Drew Holiday type caliber guy who can still put the ball in the cup a lot. I think you got to show some of these young guns the Drew Holiday buckets from first couple years in Philadelphia because Drew's a bucket. So his defensive prowess aside, he can get you some buckets. Anthony Simons is not a good fit for their team. Um, you know, he's not. He's not. He's a worse Donovan Mitchell. And imagine a worse Donovan Mitchell on the Blazers. Exactly. It doesn't work for the team. So I'm not mad that they got rid of him. I just don't really know. I just don't really know what their long-term situation is, especially at the one spot, because Scoot does not look ready. He doesn't. And he looks like one of them classic wings who's oversized, who they said, oh my God, he's like a LeBron. And now he looks out of position in the NBA just a little bit. So I hope that Scoot can figure it out. I hope that the Blazers can figure it out. But I love this trade for the Celtics. As far as the Rockets trade, I obviously love that trade for the Rockets more than the Suns. Hope both of them teams can get up and rolling. All right, in the AM with MC, there are some very special people near and dear to my heart who have been a part of the show, been around the show, who have helped me in life, and it's just cool. I follow everybody out there in real time. Forget this social media junk. Like I follow people who I care about and who I love in real time. See their uh pursuits in life, support them from afar in their pursuits in life. I'm super super honored and glad to be rocking my Ian Wheeler jersey for the Chicago Bears. I will turn around and show you the back, but trust is back there, man. I got that IAN, that Ian Wheeler. I was blessed to do an episode of the Polaroid podcast with Ian while we were both still at Howard. I think we did that in 2022, like early 2022, maybe like January, or we might have done it in late 2021. But either way, Ian's a dog. He's in his second year with the Bears, trying to make that roster, loaded backfield. Regardless of what team he ends up playing for, I have this jersey for life. Next time I see Ian, I'm gonna get him to sign it. I got a couple more. I got like two or three other partners in the league. I'm gonna get their jerseys. I'm gonna wear them on here, and support your friends, man. Support your friends in real life. It sucks to to have people out there who you actually know would give their left kidney for Selena Gomez but wouldn't tell their homie happy birthday. I love my homies in real life, all of them. Everybody that's really like my dog, man. So shout out to Ian. Shout out to the Chicago Bears. Hopefully I get y'all something good this year, man. All right. Let's talk about the Women's National Basketball Association. We have about 14 and a half minutes here to talk WNBA. So first and foremost, I'm a big fan of the Aces. I've said that on the show before. Months ago, I said the Aces should draft who? I'm gonna give y'all a second. I said the Aces should draft Sanaya Rivers or Anissa Morrow, one of the two of them if possible. Guess what happened? Both of them went to the Connecticut Sun, and they're both gonna enjoy fruitful careers and be a big part of whatever the Sun have going on, unless the Sun trade them or whatever. But that's great for them. Sonia Centrone, bussing behind right now. She's one of my all-star selections. I'm gonna get there when I get there. But I'm talking about the Aces right now because we suck. Like the Aces are just such a harsh product to watch. We get it. We have Asia Wilson. She's the best player in the league. She's still, in my opinion, the best player in the league. Nafisa Kali is going to be MVP this season. Rightfully so. Rightfully deserved. It's also not too early, in my opinion, to say something like that. Fee is out right now. She has some injuries, but there's just not really like a second place person. There's not really like a second place person. The Liberty, as good as they are, have slumped a little bit. Stewie has not been like so consistent that I'm like, yeah, she's the number two. It's only averaging like 19 flat a game, 19.5. Uh, there's just not a close enough second place person for me to say Fee is not the MVP. Like she's the MVP in my opinion. But Asia Wilson's the best in the league, right? You have Jackie Wilson, or excuse me, Jackie Young, former number one overall pick as well. Jewel Lloyd, Chelsea Gray, like those four are just like last year. It's like those four are gonna play. Like you have to live with the mistakes they're gonna make. You have to live with the bad shots they might take. Whatever. It's everybody else. Where's the defense? Where's the offense from everybody else? Where's the shot creation? Kaya Stokes, I need you off my team. It's nothing personal. I mean, it's bad right now. It's really bad. And the worst thing is, we will really benefit from, in my opinion, just like like a really, really athletic three. Like if like we got like a Rickea Jackson type player, but she was like 2 inches shorter than Rickea Jackson, just a little bit more east west. Like we would really, really benefit from that on both sides of the floor because we can't stop park traffic. I mean, our defense is terrible. Um, One of the only teams that could be worse than us right now is the Chicago Sky. They suck. They don't get enough flack for, their draft situation where they got Atkins and they traded away their pick and then they picked up Haley Van Lith when they could have picked anybody next year. Like, I don't know, yo. Just think about the Sky situation is goofy. The coaching situation is goofy. I've been said that Teaspoon shouldn't have been gone. But Tyler Marsh, like you giving up games in the middle of the third quarter, like we can all see you. The camera is on you. You are the head coach. The game is still going on. So for you to clear the bench at that point in the game, for you to stop running sets at that point in the game, they're getting blown out by some of these teams. And it's sad because you're seeing flashes that just don't materialize because there's no time for them to materialize. You see Reese hit a three. I was critical of Angel last episode as well because she wasn't doing well enough on the floor. And now it's like, all right, she's hitting threes. She got a triple double. She's distributing. She has a good attitude. She's playing defense. And what do you do as the coach to reward her? You get her out the offense. You got her two off ball. She should touch the rock every time down the floor. Make her point guard. The thing is, the speed of the women's game, right? Because the women's game is almost always played in the half court. Like there's much less of a fast break element. Even the teams that want to quote unquote play fast, bro, it's a lot more like half court offense. So my thing is, if you're like a player like Alyssa Thomas, like her play style, it wouldn't really work in the league, because of spacing and because of the presence of the fast break. Like Alyssa Thomas is like, I don't know how tall she is. She's probably like 6'5", 6'4", but she's strong, dog. I went to the Liberty, Phoenix Mercury game, and I mean, she's cut. Like she's strong. Bulldozing people in the paint. But she's so much finesse, finding people, dinking and dunking, and she runs the offense. And so her play style works in the league. And so she leads the league in assists per game. That's coaching, right? That's play style, but that's coaching. Like put your players in a position to succeed. That's one of the reasons that the Valkyrie don't suck, that the Golden State Valkyrie, an expansion team, doesn't suck. This team is 2 games above 500, I think. They're about to be in the playoffs. Like new coach, all these players is new. And this expansion teams succeed for the reason that you think that they do, that rent is due, and that most of these players understand what it's like to play alongside somebody else, and not be the focal point. Like that's why a lot of these expansion teams work. But at the same time, like, man, the Skies suck, the Aces suck, the Wings suck, but the Valkyrie don't suck. Good job to the Valkyrie. They doing what they got to do. Shout out to the Valkyrie, Golden State. All right, finally, but never least, on this 22nd episode, we're going to go through our All Star ballot for the WNBA. You get 10 selections per ballot. You can vote multiple times a day. Um, I think the rosters are going to be 2 teams of 12. I could be wrong though, but you get 10 votes, 6 front court, 4 back court. So that being said, all right, nothing personal in any of these. This is my ballot, this is my opinion, but at the same time, let's talk facts, not feelings, okay? Because you know, sports can be very emotional. Lots of feelings about a lot of the transgressions, a lot of the goings ons in sports. But at the end of the day, facts over feelings. So let's talk some facts. I think that Fee is the MVP right now, Nafisa Collier. We'll go front court first, obviously. Asia Wilson, Nafisa Collier. That's one. That's one. It's 2 easy votes right there. Aaliyah Boston is killing. I've been talked about how she's killing. Former number one overall pick does not get enough respect. Playing alongside CC, you would think she would get more credit, but she actually still doesn't get enough credit. Even the game CC was out, where Aaliyah was averaging like 25 and 10, not enough credit. She's shooting 60% from the field, not enough credit. That's my third pick right there, Aaliyah Boston. My low key on some the defensive player of the year type vibe right now too. Breonna Stewart, Stewie, during the Liberty game I was at, she had a 30 ball. Speaks for itself. That's 4 selections. Alyssa Thomas, that's my 5th selection. Just explain why. Now, that last selection for me, it's between 2 players. Satu, I don't know how you pronounce. I think it's Sabali, but Satu Sabali, right? French, big guard, lefty. She's a good player. She's really a good player. Her sisters on the Liberty. I got to see them play each other. Made a splash this summer with her free agency decision. She's a really, really good player. But as far as disrespected and overlooked superstars and former stars go, Nneka Ogwumike, right? Averaging about 18. She's been in the league for 14 years, I want to say. Her sister is a phenomenal analyst, but they came into the league around the same time. You see what she's doing and you see what she's doing, right? Former MVP, and she's playing on a team loaded with talent, but a team that still needs her to put the ball in the cup, and she does that. She does that. So shout out to Nneka Ogwumike. That's my 6 for the front court. My 4 in the back court, and this is where it gets dicey. I got Paige Beckers. I think Paige is the best point guard, the best pure point guard in the A right now. She's 6th in the league in assists, and she is 24th, 21st, something like that, like 21st or 24th in the league in turnovers. Hey, okay. Sonia Centrone. A lot of people are not gonna like this one, but Sonia is doing better than some of y'all faves with a lower usage rate. Her usage rate is way lower than some of y'all faves, and she's killing. She just had that game winner against the Wings. I prefer her on this list over like Arike Ngumbuale, right? Because she might have more points per game or something like that. Lower field goal percentage, lower usage rate, or higher usage rate in the case of Enrique. And way less wins if you're the Wings, right? Skylar Diggins, formerly Skylar Diggins Smith, I believe she was just divorced. Skylar Diggins is, you know, I when it's all said and done, I'd like to write many books about sports, and I'm in the process of writing two different things right now that both have sports kind of intertwined within them. But I think that I might have to give Diggins some run in one of them books or something because she actually is one of the most heavily like publicized and has been and had been one of the most publicized female athletes and female basketball players that has ever been in the league. People all were like, "Oh my gosh, she looked pretty while she was at Notre Dame," right? Sure, she was a bucket though. Like she truly was a bucket. Like, and she ended up going to the league and being in lots of different precarious situations. But off the court, right, you have for like at the ESPYs, I think it was the ESPYs where Drake had her jersey on and made like a mockery of her being almost. It's like the entire world is like, yeah, you're just pretty, like shut up. Like that is what Skylar Diggins has been met with since she has been put on blast of who she is. And when there was issues in Seattle, you know, I think a lot of the vitriol that went in the direction of Diggins also like came from her getting married, so it's like you're not on the market anymore, but B, seemingly, but B, like her being such a competitor, her being such a like in your face kind of person on the floor because people don't like that, right? It's like you should play this way, you should do this. She doesn't care. She does not care, and so she has contributed to exist and show up how she wants to, and she'll always have my respect for that. And I think that her ability as a basketball player isn't spoken about enough. But this year specifically, I can really see Seattle going all the way. Like I see Seattle with the leadership of Diggins going all the way, and the leadership of Nneka Ogwumike going all the way. That last pick at guard, I think you could split it between Alicia Gray, Bryn Howard, or Kelsey Plum. I'd be happy with any of the three of those. But that's it for me, man. That's my All-Star ballot. That's my WNBA, NBA roundup. Like I said, congrats to them boys of Oklahoma City. Shout out to IAN, the big dog. And shout out to Dylan Beard. Before we get out of here, he just beat Grant Holloway for the first time. This is not the first time that Dylan has finished ahead of Grant Holloway. He actually just did it in a race that I believe Trey Cunningham won. But now, that boy Dillo, he got him a legitimate W over Mr. Flamingo. Shout out to you, Dill. All right, episode 22, we gone.